Hello. Today I will be talking about globalism past to present, pages 422 to 429. The Cold War. This was the nightmare of World War II that left the world's population in shock. The Cold War determined the course of international relationships during the 12th century. Between 1964 and 1973, the US succeeded France in defending South Vietnam. In Europe, post-war Germany was politically divided, most visible by the Berlin Wall that separated Soviet-dominated East Germany from West Germany's Federal Republic. Capitalism. For roughly half a century following World War II, the great powers of the world were divided into the two opposing ideological camps popularly known as communism and capitalism. Each of these power blocks, one dominating in the East and the other in the West, followed its own system, and each believed in the necessity of prevailing in the world struggle for dominance. And this was also the term to describe a system. Essentialism. The Holocaust, the nuclear bombing of Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and the realities of the Cold War made it difficult to maintain that human beings were rational by nature and that technology would work to advance human happiness. Some even wondered whether the universe was governed by the benevolent god alienation, a condition in externate from God and the reason was a governing mood of the post-war era. In Sartre's analysis, each person is the sum of their actions. Each person bears a burden of own responsibilities called anguish. Existential hero. The existential hero, or more exactly, anti-hero, takes up the quest for meaning. Alienated by nature and circumstance, he makes choices in a world lacking moral absolutes, and a world in which no act might be good, unless it is chosen. And Sartre wrote many novels and many short stories as well. The Death of the Salesman is a sympathetic existential figure. Theater of the Observed. The international movement, known as the Theater Observed, so vitally captured the anguish of post-war society that the late 20th century critiques called it the true theater of our time. This was capture the anguish of post-war society, and this 20th century started calling it the true theater of its time, and the principal figures of the abstract theater reflect character of the movement. Post-war cinema. Post-war cinema took up the quest for meaning by way of films that challenged traditional moral values, like the pioneer Japanese filmmaker Akira. And they would use different camera angles and to capture the films that they would, show as a traditional moral values. Abstract expression. During the first half of the 20th century, almost all important new styles in painting came from Paris or other European cities. After 1945, however, the United States took the lead. New York City was a birthplace of radical new art style called abstract expressionism. So new paintings came from Paris or other European cities. This painting actually right here was from New York, and it was a birthplace of radical new art style. And the best known abstract was Jackson Pollock. The end of communism. In Eastern Europe, the collapse of the Soviet Union in the early 1900s resulted in the independence. And the independence was from Poland, Hungary, Romania, Bulgaria, and it was one of the earliest revolts actually that happened against the colonial rule that took place in India. And this happened between 1944 to 1960. The quest for racial equality. The most turbulent liberation movement of the 20th century addressed the issue of racial equality, an issue so dramatically reflecting the African American experience that some observers have doubled the century, and they would call it the race era. So, the civil rights leader of the 1950s demanded enforcement for all the equality, and this led to the Supreme Court banning school segregation is when everyone kind of came together, the white and the blacks. And at that time, MLK was also assassinated in 1968. Black identify in arts. So this is a picture of James Baldwin. He was one of the most Americans' Black protest literature. American theater is witnessing flowering of the powerful plays by Black women. African American artists increased more themes of racial discrimination, so they would draw more things to show how we all are all equal and there is equality in all of us, no matter what color and race. Why it matters. The events that happened in the past matter till this day because without the Cold War and the communism capitalism issues, governments around the world today wouldn't be where they are now. For example, the United States economy has benefited from capitalism that has led to innovations in healthcare, technology, industry, and that has literally changed the world. Quiz time! Question 1. When was MLK assassinated? 1800, 1974, 1968, or 1870? Correct answer is 1968. What is it called to describe a system? A. Capitalism. B. Free enterprise. C. Industrialism. Or D. Democracy. Correct answer is capitalism. Last question. Who wrote many novels and short stories? A. MLK. 2. Christopher Columbus. 3. Sartre. Or 4. Akira. Right answer is Sartre. Thank you so much.